Hi, I'm Sharon Croft. Today we're talking about what the New Testament really says about Jesus and what Jesus really says about himself. We'll learn why Jesus called himself the Son of Man. Only a weirdo talks about himself in third person, right? Let's start with John chapter 9, when Jesus healed the blind man, the man born blind. We'll go through the story quickly. The man had been born blind. Now he was in midlife, old enough to give account for himself. Jesus put clay on his eyes, told him to wash. He washed off the clay, and then he could see. This caused a disagreement in the synagogue, and this man was actually put out of the synagogue. In other words, he was excommunicated. They told him, "You can't come back." So Jesus found him later on, and they had a conversation. Jesus said, "Do you believe in the Son of Man?" He who had been born blind answered, "Who is he, Lord, that I may believe in him?" Jesus said to him, "You have both seen him, and he is the one who was talking with you." And he said, "Lord, I believe," and he worshiped him. Now, this man who had been born blind, who was now healed, had attended synagogue probably every Saturday for the majority of his life, probably had missed very few Saturdays. And just from those synagogue attendances, he had learned about the Son of Man. He had been born blind. He was probably unable to attend the synagogue school with the other boys because they didn't have Braille at that time. So it was probably um, almost impossible for him to learn to read and write. So he learned about the Son of Man most likely in the synagogue, and he had already come to the conclusion that the Son of Man is God. A good Jew cannot worship anyone other than God. The term Son of Man appears 28 times in Matthew, 13 times in Mark, 26 times in Luke. In John, it occurs 12 times, then once in the book of Acts, once in Hebrews, and twice in Revelation. There's a very important passage in the Old Testament that tells us more about the Son of Man. We'll get to that in a minute. From the New Testament, we see the Son of Man receives worship, forgives sins, and sends forth angels. In Matthew 9, verse 6, the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins. In Matthew 13, the Son of Man will send forth his angels. And then in Mark 14, we read about Jesus being on trial for blasphemy. Blasphemy is claiming to be equivalent with God, at least according to this particular trial. That's what he was on trial for. The high priest, who knew the scriptures better than anyone else other than Jesus, asked Jesus, "Are you the Christ, the Son of the Blessed One?" The Blessed One being God Most High. And he said, "I am, and you shall see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of power and coming with the clouds of heaven." Tearing his clothes, the high priest said, "What further need do we have of witnesses?" Now, in this culture, a man's son, especially the firstborn son over the age of 30, was to be considered the heir and the equal of his father because he would inherit all of his father's property and authority, or the majority of the property and all the authority. But we know Jesus inherits everything. The cross references for this are Mark 13, Psalm 110, and Daniel 7:13, which is extremely important. From Daniel chapter 7, Daniel was taken prisoner in Persia, and he was serving the Persian kings and magistrates, and he was a visionary. He kept having visions, and he said, "I kept looking in the night visions, and behold, with the clouds of heaven, One like the Son of Man was coming. And he came up to the Ancient of Days. The Ancient of Days would be God Most High. And he was presented before him. So he, the Son of Man, was presented before him, God Most High. And to him was given glory and a kingdom, that all the peoples, nations, and men of every language might serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and his kingdom is one which will not be destroyed. Now we see this part. To him was given dominion. Dominion is a synonym for authority. Remember in the Great Commission, Matthew 28, when Jesus said, "All authority has been given to me. Therefore, go and preach the gospel to all nations." Jesus was making a reference to Daniel chapter 9, that the Son of Man had received dominion or authority from God Most High. Therefore, people of every tongue, tribe, and nation should worship him. That's where we get our Great Commission: go and preach the gospel to all nations. Jesus repeatedly claimed to be the Son of Man. So for review, what do we know about the Son of Man? Common synagogue attenders of Jesus' day were familiar with the term Son of Man and thought the Son of Man to be worthy of worship. They understood from their studies of Daniel 7 that the Son of Man is God. We know the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins. The Son of Man will send forth his angels in Matthew 13. When on trial before the great high priest, Jesus was accused of blasphemy when he called himself the Son of Man. And then in Acts chapter 7, when Stephen was being stoned because of the miracles he did in the preaching, some people got angry and they started to stone him. When he was beaten and bloody and dying, he had a vision of Jesus as the Son of Man standing at the right hand of God. When he reported the vision, when he talked about it and said what he was seeing, "I see Jesus as the Son of Man in heaven," those who were stoning him rushed at him, gnashing their teeth, basically in a demonic rage, and they killed him rather quickly. Please read that from Acts chapter 7. Then in the book of Revelation, we have the Son of Man again. In Revelation chapter 1 and chapter 14, the Apostle John saw Jesus as the Son of Man in glory and with authority to judge. So now we know that when Jesus called himself the Son of Man, he was making a reference back to Daniel chapter 7, and the people of his day understood the Son of Man to be equal to the Most High God. So did Jesus Christ claim to be God? Absolutely. And I believe he is worthy of your worship. Jesus Christ is God Almighty, and he is coming back soon. Be ready.